Kathy Sanders' memories of April 19th, 1995 are vivid and painful. It was the day Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh bombed the Alfred P. Murrah building in Oklahoma City. 168 people were killed, including her two grandsons, Chase and Colton. Consumed with bitterness and hatred, Kathy became depressed and even contemplated suicide. Then she realized there was only one way she could move on with her life. In her book, Now You See Me, Kathy tells how she found peace by forgiving the two men who caused her and many others so much pain.
Now, your story is very moving. Take me back to April 19th, 1995. Tell me the events that led up to that tragic event that day.
Well, that morning, my grandchildren lived in my home. The boys had the bedroom next to me. I went in to get the boys up, and they weren't in there. So I walked down the hall, and I found them asleep on either side of their mother. Sometime during the night, those little boys got up and spent the last night of their lives in bed with their mother. We dropped them off at daycare. My daughter and I worked in the same building downtown. When I heard the explosion, I didn't know what happened, but I knew it was bad. And I ran down the 2 flights of stairs to my daughter's office. I look up the street and I see the smoke rising from the Murrah. And I said, Edie, the babies. And we took off running. And when we got to the Murrah building, I'm saying, Edie, wait up, wait up. And we stop and we're surveying the damage. And the windows were blown out, but the building was intact. And then we hear boom, 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 and we see more black billowing smoke coming. And we take off running to the north side. And that was the cars in the parking lot blowing up. And when we turned and looked at the daycare, there was nothing left but a pancake pile of rubble. My daughter fell to her knees, my babies, my babies. And I said, Edie, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. But I knew in my heart it was never going to be all right.
You grew up believing in God and you had a relationship with God, but you really questioned. You wondered, where was this God? How did you come to grips with that reality that this is the God I pray to, but this is what happened in my life?
Well, it took some time because for a while it was like, my belief system was challenged. I wasn't even sure if there was a God. Where was that God I had prayed to all those years, all my life? What has happened to him? But I was so broken, and I came to a place in my life that I knew I couldn't survive, and the only hope I had was in God. And it's like, God, if you're real, if you're out there, you're going to have to help me now. I need your help. I don't understand what's going on here, but I can't make it without you.
John Walsh, who we all know here in America as an activist for victims after he lost his own son to a tragic murder, he came and spoke to you all maybe a day or two after the tragedy. How did that change you?
Well, it changed me because he was the first person I believed. Because I had well-meaning people come to me and say, well, at least the babies are in a better place. Who wants their children in heaven? Or at least you have your memories. Well, memories don't hug you. Memories don't love you. John Walsh, I knew his history and that he knew the place I was coming from. He looked at us and it was like a nail being driven into my mind. And he pointed his finger and he said, you will grieve and you will grieve deeply, but you will survive. I still hear those words. And up to that point, I didn't know if I would survive. But that gave me the hope that I was going to be able to survive because I saw a survivor right in front of me.
Now, the theme of your book is forgiveness. Tell me about that process of forgiveness. How did that happen for you?
Well, I didn't wake up one morning and think, today would be a great day to forgive the men that murdered my grandchildren. What I've learned, and I've tried to share in my book, is that forgiveness is a process. It's not an event. I read the Lord's Prayer. It's the only conditional prayer in the Bible that I know of that says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I didn't know how to do that. The Lord understood that. I said, Lord, I don't know how to do that. I decided that I needed to pray for those men. So I said, Lord, I lift Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh up to you. And then it was as if I'd hit the stone wall. I didn't know how or what to pray after that. And I asked the Lord, you're going to have to send your Holy Spirit to intercede for me. I have no idea what my prayers did for McVeigh or Nichols, but when I began to pray for those men, it began to change my life.
20 years later, what is your life like now?
Well, I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. There's nothing extraordinary about me. I'm somebody that something extraordinary happened to, and I love to give back. I love to share my story and offer hope. I'm an artist by trade, and today I paint portraits for families that have lost their children. That enables me to get to know the families and to be their John Walsh. I want them to know that you'll grieve deeply, but there is peace on the other side. You know, Chase and Colton, I know today, as sure as I'm sitting here, that they're in my future. That brings me peace. I know that God did not take them, that He simply received them when they came.
And to that person who may look and say, but I serve God and I don't understand why God is allowing this to happen, what can you tell them to get them on the road to reestablishing their relationship with God?
Well, I think God understands their grief. He understands their doubt and their frustration, but He's going to be with them. He's going to make the trip with them. You know, just hold tight. He's there. We don't always understand, but I can tell you as a survivor myself, 20 years later, that I've got the peace of God and that I've got a blessed life, and they will too.